all those so-called disciples met me in the ministry except Bisola.
Disciples of the late Prophet TB Joshua have started to respond and refute the shocking and damaging allegations made against their founder, Evelyn Joshua. The widow of the late Prophet addressed the Synagogue Church of All Nations congregants as the church's new leader, the congregants to remain faithful to God as he is the church's foundation. The mother of three reminded the congregants of TB Joshua's last words, "Watch and pray," another way of saying that he knew this day would come. At this point, she was only getting started. On January 8, 2024, the BBC Africa Eye released a documentary where over 25 workers and disciples of Synagogue alleged abuse, exploitation, sexual crimes, occultism, manipulation, hypnotism, physical assault, and many more atrocities committed by the late TB Joshua. Initially, when the BBC reached out to Synagogue, the late prophet's widow maintained that no evidence supports the allegations. Sadly, since the documentary's release, millions across Africa have questioned all they know about the late TB Joshua, including his philanthropic works and his legitimacy as a true man of God. Days after, Evelyn Joshua broke her silence and publicly defended her late husband for the first time. Some of the disciples of Synagogue are also speaking out and debunking some of the eyewitnesses: Paul Agomo, Ray, Bisola, Shinle, and Ajoke, the alleged daughter of TB Joshua, who he had outside wedlock. What did some of the disciples have to say after the shocking BBC documentary?
Hello guys, it's T-Code here for African Glitz.
Prophetess Evelyn Joshua. Exactly 6 days after BBC attempted to ruin her late husband's legacy, Evelyn Joshua reacted during a Sunday service sermon on January 14, 2024. Without mentioning the documentary causing mayhem on social media, the Synagogue Church of All Nations leader told her congregants not to lose focus because the church's late founder stood for the truth till the very end. Prophetess Evelyn explained that Synagogue is a house of freedom, liberty, and a house of joy. While urging them to let love lead, she reminded them of the late TB Joshua's last sermon before he passed, telling them all to watch and pray. Months before the BBC documentary aired, it seemed like Evelyn Joshua knew that this day would come when former disciples of Synagogue would make a scandalous allegation against her late husband. She must have known that the documentary was in the works because in July of 2023, during a sermon titled "The Good and Foolish People," the senior pastor of the church exposed Bisola, one of the eyewitnesses in the BBC documentary. Evelyn said that TB Joshua's office was built in a way that she could see people going in and out. According to Evelyn, one fateful Wednesday after the Blood of Jesus service, a woman came in, immediately knelt and begged, "Please sir, I'm homeless. I don't have a place to stay. Fire engulfed our house." Prophetess Evelyn narrated how she still remembers that day as if it just happened. And she remembers the clothes TB Joshua was wearing that day, a Ghanaian cloth. The woman who many have guessed is Bisola was then given a place in the ministry, but she wasn't satisfied and wanted to be friends with Evelyn, but she resisted. Evelyn Joshua claims that is the reason why Bisola cannot say anything about her because she doesn't know her. Further speaking, the senior pastor bragged that her late husband, the prophet, did not give in to her foolishness and begged congregants to stay away from foolish people so they wouldn't become what they were. Evelyn recalled that when Bisola wanted to leave, she started saying the prophet is this and that. Meanwhile, when Bisola was a worker at Synagogue, she often lied about one illness or the other so the prophet could touch her in the private parts of her body. Evelyn said she, however, expected Bisola to say one thing, but she didn't. TB Joshua spat on her publicly before she left the church. Wiseman Harry. On the other side of the world, the prophet of Synagogue Thessalonia in Greece, Wiseman Harry, has also debunked the BBC documentary on their late founder. While speaking to congregants, the devout disciple revealed that he lived in the Synagogue Church of All Nations headquarters in Lagos for 10 years. Wiseman Harry said he went there when he was 20 and left at 30. According to him, he recognizes some of the eyewitnesses from his time at the headquarters, but they are the people who failed to make it in life as true disciples. So they ganged up together to lie about Prophet TB Joshua after they were bought for money for temporary pleasures. Wiseman Harry also addressed a room connected to 4 staircases, where it was alleged that Prophet TB Joshua was calling female disciples alone. The devout claimed that the late prophet was known for his dedication to prayer and humble lifestyle, and he had a modest bedroom apartment. This living space was shared with the 5 wise men and male disciples who provided round-the-clock assistance to the prophet. According to Wiseman Harry, all interactions with male or female disciples occurred in the presence of others. Addressing the controversy surrounding Ajoke paternity, Wiseman Harry described her as a daughter of perdition, not a daughter meant to be saved. The devout disciple explained that Ajoke was just an abandoned baby the prophet adopted. Harry said Ajoke was treated like family and was the same age as one of Joshua's children, but in her teenage years, she developed a rebellious streak.
Ajoke is not the biological child of Prophet T.B. Joshua with another woman as they claim to be. They can at any time do the DNA test and discover if she was a genuine child or not, but she was not a genuine child, biological child of Prophet T.B. Joshua. So she grew up in the house with Mama Evelyn.
Harry stated that Ajoke was asked to leave after Pastor TB removed his name from her passport and gave her back her birth name, Ajoke God's Will. On Paul Agomo, Bisola and other allegations, Wiseman Harry questioned why they stayed at Synagogue Church of All Nations for years when they witnessed TB Joshua's unchristian behavior and when he started maltreating them. Why stay if he was this bad a person? He asked. Drawing parallels to biblical accounts, Wiseman Harry compared them to the story of Judas Iscariot, who betrayed Jesus for monetary gain, and emphasized the duty of followers of Christ to stand firm in their beliefs. Disciple Joseph David. Another disciple of Synagogue Church of All Nations, Joseph David, also reacted and said that Ajoke was never a biological daughter of the late prophet. In a video published online by PM News on January 10, 2024, the devoted disciple claimed he was with TB Joshua for 27 years until he died and is also a trustee of the Synagogue Church of All Nations. According to him, Ajoke was only a few days old when her mother abandoned her by a truck close to the church premises. The prophet picked her up after being abandoned and reported the case to the police for the records. But rather than take her to the orphanage, the prophet chose to father her. He further explained that Ajoke later grew up to be admired by everybody in the Synagogue Church of All Nations. But suddenly, she became rebellious and everybody was fed up with her until she left. All her records are in the synagogue archives, but netizens begged to disagree on this one. They insist Ajoke looks very much like TB Joshua and they believe her story. They urged the church to do a DNA test and provide the result online if they were sure Ajoke was only adopted by TB Joshua. Denying other eyewitness testimony as convincing evidence, Joseph denied the allegation that TB Joshua stopped disciples from marriage while in the church. He only advised that his disciples pursue their careers first before marriage.
The prophet never stopped disciples from getting married. He only taught us that it is better for one to secure his or her future first before going into marriage. He said, since marriage is both a commitment and a responsibility, if you are still in the pursuit of your career and at the same time thinking about marriage, it becomes an unnecessary liability. That is it.
According to him, Angeline, one of the ladies in the documentary, left the ministry to her country because she wanted to marry a disciple, and the prophet did not support her decision.
The lady Angelique had left the ministry way back to her country because she wanted to get married to a fellow disciple, but the prophet advised her based on what I have just said, but she disagreed and left. After a long while, she suddenly reappeared in front of the church gate with a hidden camera and started screaming, causing scene. He had sex with me, he made love with me. Why didn't she do that when she was living? Come on, you call that evidence? No, it is acting.
The marriage issue, according to David, also led to the exit of Paul Agomo. Joseph claimed the evangelist was to head the branch of the church in Ghana and he wanted to marry the daughter of a regional overseer of the church against the wish of the prophet. The prophet dissuaded him from marrying the lady, which did not go well with Paul. TB Joshua soon got to know Paul's mind was no longer in the church. Rather than continue to feel disgruntled, the prophet prayed for him and released him to leave the ministry. He said, on Bisola, Joseph explained that she was unbearable until the prophet asked her to bring her mother one day. When Bisola's mother came, she thanked the prophet and said to him, I know you are a true man of God. Bisola is my daughter. I know her very well. I don't think you can tame her. Also reacting, one of TB Joshua's self-acclaimed son, I.O. Samuel, insisted that Bisola was not okay mentally. Samuel alleged that the former disciple set a legally married husband's house on fire. When she came to Synagogue Church of All Nations, she was delivered. She left after some years and began fabricating lies in the media. Samuel said BBC must answer specific questions. If they can't, the documentary should be regarded as fabricated. A Zimbabwean pastor based in South Africa, J. Israel, has also alleged that one of the eyewitnesses in the BBC documentary exposing TB Joshua is a famous seductress. On January 10, 2024, the Zimbabwean cleric alleged that Shile Shibili was a woman who was paid to fabricate the abuse story she shared with the BBC against the late TB Joshua. In a Facebook post, J. Israel shared a hotel's notice advising not to let Chile in as she allegedly lied about her identity. He said he would not keep quiet when he knew the truth, and his post was not in defense of the late TB Joshua but just the truth. J. Israel alleged that Chile Sibili has a history of seducing men of God and has been bugging him to be intimate with her. He shared a screenshot of a WhatsApp conversation purportedly between himself and Chile, where she allegedly requested intercourse with Israel and his friend, Dr. Kaleles. According to Israel, Chile has a pattern of seducing and blackmailing religious figures and has even sought his assistance in hooking her up with pastors and prophets. Chile Sabili is a master of seducing and blackmailing men of God, sending explicit pictures to lure them. Despite close interactions, she begged me to take her to Nigeria to meet Prophet Jeremiah Omoto Fufenyi to lure and blackmail him. But knowing her behavior of seducing servants of God, I rejected that position immediately because I have much respect for the prophet. She also sought a threesome as shown below with others like my friend Dr. Kalelezi, which we dismissed. Sile has been begging to sleep with me to the point of saying if I can't have her, then I must hook her up with close men of God to myself because she enjoys sleeping with men of God, he wrote. As TB Joshua's disciples continue to debunk the allegations against their late founder, many Nigerians insist that he was a genuine man of God till the end. Popular journalist Dele Momodu claims the BBC documentary is just a free advert for the late prophet. The Ovation magazine publisher said Bisola once claimed he used to eat crumbs under TB Joshua's table and made a post on X that reads, "Free adverts. Prophet Temitope Balogun Joshua in his lifetime suffered loads of attacks, and even after his death, he continues to generate controversies. Unfortunately, he is not here to defend himself." Tell us guys, what do you think about TB Joshua's widow and disciples' reactions to the raging allegations? Do you believe them, or do you believe the BBC documentary version of the late prophet? Do you agree with many that Ajoke bears a striking resemblance to TB Joshua and only a DNA test can prove her story false? Finally, do you agree with Dele Momodu that the documentary is a free advert for the late prophet?
Share your opinion in the comment section down below. If you found this video informative, please comment, like and share. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button to be notified every time I upload a new video so that you don't miss out. Thanks for watching and see you on our next one.